Bill for the use of his wheelbarrow. And I can imagine this maybe raised some questions as to, okay, why do we have a wheelbarrow up here? Well, we're all going to be gardening after church today. They didn't tell you? You had to work for your food today. Back in the late 1800s, there was this circus that came to a Midwest town. And this circus ringmaster was a great promoter, and he decided that he was going to send his tightrope walker ahead to the next town and do a demonstration to promote the coming of the circus. So he comes to this one town, and there's this huge ravine on the edge of town, and it's a couple of 100 feet down. And so he says, I'm going to go ahead and string my tightrope up across this ravine. And let's gather all the townspeople around, and I'm going to do a demonstration of tightrope walking. So they get the tightrope and they put it in the ground, and they call the town together to get everybody to see this wonderful performer. And he goes out, and as hundreds of people are standing around him, he traverses the ravine on the tightrope. And he gets to the other side, and people are cheering, and he walks back across the tightrope, and people get there, and they're cheering. They're like, this is incredible. He says, you want to see me do it again? They said, absolutely. So he does it again. And to even greater cheers, and now the crowd's getting a little bit bigger, and they're having all these people. And he gets back across the ravine, and people are just giving him a standing ovation, and they said, that's just really incredible. And he says, let me ask you a question. Who believes that I can walk across this tightrope, across this ravine? And of course everybody, well, we just saw you do it a couple of times. Sure, you can do it. He says, well, I brought my wheelbarrow with me. Who would like to get in and let me push him across the ravine on the wheelbarrow? I don't think he got any volunteers. But this example of faith, about seeing faith and being faith, would it be easy for him to push that wheelbarrow across the ravine? Yes, it would be. But do you have the faith to get in to this experience? Do you have that faith? Are we getting in the wheelbarrow of our faith, whatever our dreams are in our life? The things that we say we want to do, we want to be. Are we really, really in that wheelbarrow? Are we? It's a question that you can only answer yourself. I'm not here to have anybody call out, although if somebody wants to witness, hey man, I'm all for it, go ahead. You know, but are we really, really, really in our wheelbarrow of faith? Are we really feeling it? Think for a moment. The things in your life that you desire, that you dream, that you picture yourself being. And are you getting to that doorway and saying, nah, no, not me. Yeah, no, that's crazy. No, I can't do that. No, not me. God wouldn't want me to do it. What are you, God, you're just picking on me. Come on. You know? No. Now that's for somebody else. But I'd really like to do it. I'd really like to be whatever it is I want to be, but no. Faith is the motor of the universe. We look around and we see examples of faith everywhere. This very building that we're sitting in was once a dream and a faith of somebody. I would really like to have a church here. It was an act of faith. And maybe there was some resistance to that originally. Maybe in 1938 when they built this building, there was some resistance to having a structure here for some reason. But somebody had the faith to see that dream forward. And here we are, 80 years later, enjoying the fruits of somebody's faith. Not only externally, but internally, with the leaders of Unity, Charles and Merle Fillmore, We all know the story of Myrtle Fillmore, who was racked with tuberculosis, and she had a very physical ailment that was very visible in her life. But her faith taught her that there was a greater experience in her physical life, that she did not want to focus on the physical aspects of her condition. She wanted to focus on the reality and the divinity of what she knew was her rightful inheritance of health and prosperity. And we today in Unity enjoy the fruits of that faith. Every Sunday throughout thousands of Unity churches throughout the world, we are blessed with a vision of one woman overcoming, choosing to step into her faith, choosing to live in her faith. And I'm sure the prognosis of the day when she was going around from doctor to doctor, that there was just nothing they could do for her. There was nothing that they could do to help her except, why don't we recommend that you move to Texas or Colorado or maybe the mountains of North Carolina, because that will certainly ease the condition and the effects of your condition. And they did just that. They moved around. They went from Texas and they went to Colorado before they did come to Kansas City. And there was also a little real estate crash that happened for Charles and his business. He was a realtor. And Charles, at the onset of what is now known as Unity, suffered a great financial loss. But he was really moved by the experience of Myrtle and how she was becoming better by her affirmational prayer. And he thought, this is a way that I can claim my prosperity. And so Unity really started not as a religion, but it started as a practice of religion. It was something that was never supposed to be its own denomination. It was something that was started as an application to your existing faith, whatever that may be. But they stood in the truth of what they knew their faith to be. Myrtle's faith was a faith in her health. Charles's faith was his faith in prosperity and knowing that the divine substance was always there for him. They both got in the wheelbarrow and traversed the ravine of the unknown, of doubt and fear. And we are here today as an example of their faith. And they're calling us forward in our own lives. Whatever yours is to do in your life, you're being called forward. You're being drawn to Unity to get into your wheelbarrow, to live that life of faith. I want to share a wonderful story with you. There's a couple of things in this wheelbarrow that you haven't seen. And one is my lunch. Good old Subway sandwich. We've seen Subways, haven't we? It's an extraordinary story about Subway, and a great lesson to be learned by the formation of the Subway restaurant. God's everywhere. God in everything. God's in the Subway sandwich right here, which is later going to be my stomach. 1965, there was a young man named Fred DeLuca. And Fred was just getting ready to go off to college. He was 17 years old. He lived in Bridgeport, Connecticut. The family had a friend, a guy by the name of Dr. Peter Buck. And Fred's family really wasn't that well off to do, and